Hey there folks, it's Scott from Kingfisher Culinary Solutions here, back with another video. Today we're going to cover something a little basic, but that a lot of people struggle with. It's mashed potatoes. And more specifically, my fiance makes some of the best mashed potatoes that I've ever had. A little bit of a tip, you add bacon and a little bit of garlic and your mashed potatoes go to a whole other level. So I'm going to go through a couple of the basics and then she's going to stop by and show you how she puts the magic touches on those spuds. So stay tuned and let's dive in. So the first thing you're going to want to do, folks, is you're going to want to get a nice big pot of water. So I use a big saucepan here, but you can use anything from, you know, the taller full metal versions. Anything that you can put on your stovetop is fine. You just want to make sure you have enough space to put the potatoes in. You're going to want to season the water with a little bit of salt before you get going. I typically like to cut up the potatoes and place them in for about 10 to 15 minutes before I start cooking them, just so that they get a chance to pull the starch out. Alright, so now that you've got your pot set up, it's coming to a boil. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your potatoes and wash them all. I'm going to use the Yukon Gold potato for this video. You can use reds, you can use russet potatoes. Anything you find in the grocery store can be turned into mashed. Some of them have written on the bag mashing potatoes, but all we're going to do here is we're simply going to cut these up into pieces so that they cook through a little quicker. It's the easiest way to do this. So just like with the knife video before, what you're going to do, you're going to take your knife and you're just going to cut, turning them on their sides, one cut down the middle, and then basically just angling your knife all the way through. You don't have to go that fine. You could simply, you know, cut them, depending on the size of the potato, you know, cut them into 6 or 8s, and really just, you know, it's preference. You're going to want to make sure that you take out any sections that have the rot or the have gone bad, and just place them off to the side, throw them in your compost. So once you've done that, you should have a nice big pot of potatoes ready to go. You can see they're sitting in the water there. So you're just going to turn your temperature on your oven onto high, cover them, and let them boil through. Should take maybe, because they're smaller, about 20 or so minutes. So you're just going to cover those up, leave them. When they're boiled through, stab them with a fork, and we'll show you what that looks like in a second. Alrighty folks, so it's been about 20 minutes of a boil there, and you'll see that those potatoes are nice and cooked all the way through. Now the easy way to test here is you just take a little bit of a fork, you just stab them, and you can see some of them have a little more give than others, but those are done. So for this next part, it's really important, so I brought in a special guest chef to walk you through the next steps of the garlic mashed potatoes. It's Tegan.
Hello. I'm making mashed potatoes.
So now that the potatoes are all cooked there, you need a couple of ingredients. What are you adding to the mashed potatoes, babe?
I add milk and butter, and then I also like to add garlic and bacon, as well as salt and pepper. I just have to grab the garlic from the fridge. Thank you. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to put the butter and the milk in first, so that way it's all ready to go. I usually add probably about 2 tablespoons or so to start. Of butter or margarine. I'm using margarine today. And then I use probably about a cup of milk to start, and then based on consistency and taste, I kind of maybe add a little bit more if I need to. And then I add salt and pepper just kind of to taste. I personally like my mashed potatoes saltier, so I'm a little generous with it. Same with the pepper. But if you prefer, to have like really salty mashed potatoes, or if you have like high blood pressure or something, then maybe just go easy on the salt. And then from there, before I add the bacon and the garlic, I usually just mash it up a bit first, just to make sure that I don't need anything else with the butter or the milk or anything like that. I'm really weak, so this is going to take me a minute.
While Tegan was mashing away there, we did add a little bit of milk and a little bit more butter. You really just want to make sure that the consistency is great, nice, smooth all the way through. You can leave it lumpier if you want, but it's personal preference at this point.
In this family, we like our mashed potatoes really creamy, and also with the skin on. So we leave the skin on when we boil them, and also that's why I add so much milk and butter, because it's better that way. So now I'm gonna add the garlic and the ranch, or not the garlic and the ranch, the garlic and the bacon. So again, we're a garlic family. I love garlic, so I'm usually pretty generous with it. So I usually add about a tablespoon, I would say. And bacon, you measure this with your heart. So add as much bacon as you want. We just use bacon bits because it's easier. And I'm not the culinary person in this house. I just make good mashed potatoes. So I'm usually pretty generous with the bacon. And then I mash it all together.
If you're ever unsure as to whether you use too much salt or pepper or anything's out of balance, taste it.
I'm gonna add more salt. If you're unsure if it's good enough because you're indecisive, ask a friend.
I approve. And that, my friends, is bacon creamy mashed potatoes.